Part 1. The fire was never sent to burn you, but to reveal you. It always starts with silence, then a crack, a fissure in reality. The moment when everything you thought you knew begins to collapse, not because you made a mistake, but because you've been marked, chosen. Not in the way the world glamorizes, but in the way that shakes the earth beneath your feet. This is not a calling of light where angels sing your name. It is the call of the dark chosen, the ones who awaken through fire, through loss, through betrayal so deep it echoes through lifetimes. And before you even understand what's happening, the first test arrives. At first, we think we're being punished. We ask, why me? Why does this darkness keep following me? We blame karma, fate, even the gods. But what if I told you that every demonic test that arrives in your life is not there to destroy you, but to refine you? What if the darkness is not your enemy, but your initiator? What if, buried inside the pain, inside the horror, inside the spiritual attack, is a sacred gift, one so rare? Only those with the spiritual DNA of a dark chosen one can receive it. You see, the demonic doesn't waste energy. It doesn't attack just anyone. It targets those who carry codes. Codes of rebellion, codes of awakening, codes of ancient memory. If you've been attacked, haunted, oppressed, or tested in unexplainable ways, chances are you're not cursed. You're rare. And the forces of darkness can sense it before you even do. They don't fear who you are now, they fear who you'll become if you pass the test.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
And the test isn't just pain, it's deception. It's the illusion that you are powerless, that the darkness is stronger than your light, that you are broken, unworthy, forgotten. That's the real weapon, not the attack itself, but the story that it tries to weave into your mind. Can you feel that? That creeping voice that says, "You'll never make it out of this"? That's not you. That's the parasite trying to write your story. But here's the truth. If you're still breathing, you've already won the first round. Most people run when demons come. But the dark chosen don't run, they rise. Not because they're fearless, but because they've been cornered so many times, they've learned how to transform fear into fuel. Every time the darkness thought it buried you, it forgot you were a seed. And each demonic test wasn't a punishment. It was an activation, a code hidden in the chaos. But only those willing to face it, to sit with it, to not run from it, only they can unlock it. Have you ever wondered why your life has been harder than most? Why every time you begin to rise, something unseen tries to pull you back? That's because your rise is an extinction-level event to the matrix. Your healing sends shockwaves through ancestral lines. Your awakening disrupts timelines that were never meant to be broken. You were born to be the glitch, the anomaly, the one who rewrites the code, and that terrifies the demonic realm. Because you weren't just chosen to survive, you were chosen to awaken others. But here's the catch. You cannot awaken others until you've passed through your own fire. You cannot transmit what you have not embodied. That's why the tests come. Not to break you, but to carve you into the exact shape needed to carry this frequency. Think about it. How would you know your strength if you were never pushed to your edge? How would you learn discernment unless deceived? How would you know light if you had not danced with the dark? The gift in every demonic test is this: you are being trained in mastery, and not the kind you read in books, the kind that can only be embodied through initiation. When the shadows come, they are not just testing your faith, they are revealing your power. They are showing you where you are still programmable, where you still carry fear, where you still seek approval. And they do this not out of hate, but because you are too important to remain asleep. You may not believe this yet, but the darkest moments of your life were not evidence of your failure. They were invitations to remember. If you look closely, if you slow down and really examine the patterns, you'll see it. A thread, a message, a deeper teaching encoded in the pain. The betrayal wasn't just about heartbreak, it taught you boundaries. The loss wasn't just grief, it activated your soul's resilience. The attack wasn't just trauma, it was a portal to power. But don't misunderstand me. This path is brutal. It is not for the faint of heart. It will strip you of everything false. It will take your name, your ego, your illusions, and burn them to ash. And just when you think you've reached the end, another layer will surface. That's how you know you're on the path of the dark chosen. Because the deeper you go, the more you are refined, not into perfection, but into truth. And here's where it gets deeper. The most powerful dark chosen ones are not those who destroy demons. They are those who integrate them, who learn how to transmute the very energy that once attacked them, who understand that even the demonic has a role in the divine, that the darkness was never separate, it was always part of the dance. And when you reach this level of awareness, you are no longer in resistance. You are in mastery. Have you ever asked yourself, what if the demon wasn't here to destroy me, but to mirror my forgotten power? What if the attack was a reflection of the exact frequency you were born to alchemize? That's the kind of question only the awakened can ask. And when you ask it, the whole game changes. You stop seeing yourself as a victim, and you start seeing yourself as a vessel, chosen not to be safe, but to be sovereign. This is why the demonic tests come in waves, because each wave strips another layer. Each wave initiates a deeper part of you. And just when you think you've mastered it all, life throws another shadow into your path, not to punish, but to promote. Because you're not just being prepared for your own freedom. You're being prepared to lead, to guide others through the fire, to speak with the authority of one who's been burned and still chose to rise. And that's why the gift is hidden, because only those who choose to see it are worthy of receiving it. Demonic tests are sacred contracts. They are the soul's way of waking itself up, of remembering its own immortality, and of shattering every illusion that kept you small. And once you stop fearing the darkness, you begin to extract its wisdom. You begin to mine its gold. You begin to hear the whispers beneath the roar. So now I ask you to sit with the heaviest question of all. What if your greatest pain was the portal to your highest purpose? What if the demon you feared most was sent by your soul to activate your gifts? Can you imagine what kind of power you would unleash if you stopped running and started listening? That's the threshold. That's the edge. And once you cross it, you will never be the same. Because you'll know. The fire never came to burn you. It came to reveal you. Part 2. The weapon they never expected you remembering who you are. There's a moment in every dark chosen one's journey when the game flips. When what once terrified you begins to awaken you. When the nightmares stop feeling like punishment and start feeling like prophecy. The test hasn't changed, but you have. You're no longer reacting from fear. You're watching, listening, extracting. And somewhere deep inside, you realize something that changes everything. The demons were never after your destruction. They were after your potential. It's hard to accept that when you're in the middle of the storm, when your mind is spinning, your body is trembling, and your soul feels like it's being ripped apart. But that's the exact moment when the veil thins. That's when the illusion of victimhood begins to die. That's when your real self, the one that remembers, starts to emerge. The version of you that doesn't beg for peace but commands it. Not from arrogance, but from alignment. This is the power of the demonic test. It pulls you into the rawest version of yourself. It strips away everything that isn't rooted in truth. It exposes your false gods, the identities, relationships, belief systems, and even spiritual practices you used to hide behind. It forces you to see where you've been outsourcing your power. And when you finally stop reaching outward and start going inward, you activate the frequency of sovereignty. And that frequency? It's what demons fear most. They don't fear your light. They fear your remembrance. Because when you remember who you are, you become unplayable. You stop reacting to their games. You stop being baited by fear. You stop being manipulated by illusion. And instead, you become an anomaly in their system, a glitch, a disruption, a frequency they cannot decode, because you no longer live in their ecosystem. You've transcended it. And this is where the gift starts to become clear. Every test was training. Every attack was an initiation. Every betrayal was a mirror. The demon wasn't just there to break you, it was assigned to awaken something already living within you. A dormant gift, a sacred code, a spiritual technology that can only be activated through friction, through pressure, through fire. And if you're willing to look past the pain, you'll see it. You'll see that the demon who whispered lies into your mind was actually revealing where you still believed them. That the spiritual parasite clinging to your energy field was showing you where you still hadn't fully claimed your space. That the dark force attacking your dreams was pointing you to the portal you were born to unlock. And if you can face that truth without flinching, if you can stare into the abyss and not collapse, you gain access to power most never touch. Let me ask you something that goes deeper than words. What would happen if you stopped trying to remove the demon and started asking it what it came to teach you? What if, instead of resisting the shadow, you integrated it? Not by agreeing with it, but by understanding it. What if you could see the test not as a curse, but as a contract, one that your soul agreed to before birth? One that contains within it the exact frequency you need to unlock your next level of evolution. This is not about romanticizing darkness. It's about reclaiming your relationship with it. In truth, the dark chosen ones are not victims of shadow, they are masters of it. Not because they deny it or avoid it, but because they've learned to dance with it, and to speak its language, to decode its symbols. And in doing so, they become alchemists. They turn distortion into divine wisdom. They turn pain into prophecy. They turn the demonic test into a divine doorway. Because here's the secret, Demons are not creative. They are repetitive. They use the same tactics: fear, doubt, division, self-hatred. And once you see the pattern, you can break it. You stop believing every thought. You stop attaching to every emotion. You learn to witness without absorbing. You become a mirror that reflects truth instead of absorbing distortion. And that mirror, when clean, when aligned, when whole, is a weapon of mass awakening. This is the technology embedded in every dark chosen one. The ability to see through, to pierce the veil, to decode the matrix, to walk into the densest shadow and pull out the blueprint of liberation. That is your gift. That is your inheritance. But you only access it when you stop running from the test and start working with it. When you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this waking up in me?" The moment you shift that question, you shift timelines. You quantum leap. You collapse old identities. You purge ancestral baggage. You sever false cords. And you stop being food for the demonic realm. You become frequency. You become flame. You become the one who walks into a battlefield and doesn't fight but transforms the field by being. That's what they never expected. That's the weapon that was hidden all along. You. The demons thought you would fold. They thought you'd give up. They thought you'd stay small, stay scared, stay asleep. But instead you awakened. You cried, screamed, bled, but you didn't quit. And every time you chose presence over panic, truth over comfort, love over fear, you were building something they cannot touch: inner dominion. And inner dominion is not about control, it's about embodiment. Embodiment is when the divine isn't just something you believe in, it's something that moves through you. It's how you speak, how you walk, how you rest, how you confront. It's when your energy carries truth, even when your mouth is silent. It's when your presence alone makes parasites flee, not because you battled them, but because your frequency became inhospitable to distortion. That's the gift. That's the hidden reward. That's the inheritance of every dark chosen one who dares to complete the test. So I ask you again, what if the demon was the doorway? What if the darkness was the training ground? What if everything you've suffered wasn't random, but coded with sacred intelligence? Can you allow that possibility to live in your cells, even for a moment? Because if you can, a new timeline opens, one where you're no longer surviving your wounds. You're transmitting from them. You're leading from them. You're healing others without even trying, because your very existence becomes medicine. And that's why this path is sacred. It's not glamorous. It's not always beautiful. But it is real. It is raw. It is wild. And it belongs to you. You didn't come here to be saved. You came here to remember. And every demonic test was a breadcrumb leading you back to that remembrance. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not lost. You are being forged. Part 3, you are the storm they can't survive. There is a silence that comes after the storm, not the silence of absence, but the silence of knowing. It's the space where fear used to live, now replaced by something ancient and immovable. You've walked through fire that others would never understand. You faced energies that tried to consume you. And yet you're still here, not weakened, but woken. The old version of you died in that fire, didn't it? And what rose from the ashes wasn't a survivor, it was a sovereign soul who remembered the truth. The demon was never the threat. The real threat was you, remembering who you are. The moment you realize that, the entire game shifts. You stop asking for protection and start becoming the presence that needs no defense. You stop seeking escape from darkness and start walking through it like a portal, because it no longer has power over you. You've seen its tricks. You've danced with its illusions. You've been pulled into its vortex and still found your way back to the light. And that light is no longer something external, it is you. Every demonic test was designed with a precision that only the cosmos could orchestrate. Not to punish, but to prepare, to awaken codes within you that could never be activated through comfort. You were never meant to have an easy life. You were meant to have a meaningful one that pierces the veil, one that confronts distortion, one that leaves behind a legacy of frequency so strong, even your silence shifts timelines. That's the kind of being you are. Not because you read the right books, but because you chose to stay when it hurt the most. You stayed present in the pain. You didn't abandon yourself. You sat with the shadow when it screamed. You held your heart when it shattered. And in doing so, you proved something that no demon can unprove. You are not programmable. You are not breakable. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to liberate. And liberation doesn't come from fighting darkness. It comes from outgrowing it. And here's the wild part: the moment you stop fighting the demon and start understanding it, everything changes. You begin to see that the demonic tests were never random. They were mirrors. They were maps. They were messengers. They were pointing you toward the parts of you that were still asleep, still afraid, still fragmented. And once you saw it, once you owned it, you reclaimed your wholeness. And wholeness is the frequency demons cannot feed on. They need drama. They need division. They need you fractured. But when you become whole, when you integrate your shadow, your rage, your grief, your lust, your doubt, you become unplayable. You become the kind of force that walks through spiritual warfare with a calm so unsettling, even the unseen trembles. Because you're not fighting anymore. You're transcending. This is the final gift of the demonic test. It doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you carry. Clear about your boundaries, your purpose, your power. And once you're clear, you no longer attract chaos for lessons. You become the lesson. You become the embodied frequency of resolution. And that energy is so rare, so pure, so potent it becomes untouchable. But don't mistake this clarity for perfection. You will still feel. You will still bleed. You will still grieve. But none of it will define you anymore. It will pass through you, not consume you. You will witness your emotions without becoming them. You will watch your triggers without obeying them. You will hold space for others without losing your center. That's the power you've earned. That's the mastery you couldn't fake. That's the reward the demon never wanted you to find. And now, you walk differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. Because you're not reacting, you're radiating. You're not afraid of being seen, you're demanding to be felt. And not from ego, but from essence. You've become a tuning fork for truth. a lighthouse for the lost, a disruptor of every system that feeds on spiritual amnesia. And you do it not through force, but through frequency. Can you feel that within yourself right now? That stillness? That clarity? That quiet, thunderous knowing that you've earned your place on this earth? That your existence is not random? That your pain was not meaningless? That your suffering was sacred? If you can feel it even for a second, then you are standing in your truth. And truth is the only thing demons cannot distort. They can twist words. They can hijack thoughts. They can mimic emotions. But they cannot hold the vibration of truth. It is too high, too clean, too ancient. So when you live from that place, you become a frequency they cannot follow. You become a dimension they cannot enter. You become a storm they cannot survive. Not because you attacked them, but because you out-evolved them. And now, the question is not how do I avoid the next test? The real question is, how do I honor the being I've become because of it? How do you move differently now that you've seen behind the veil? How do you love now that you no longer need validation? How do you lead now that you understand pain not as an obstacle but as a portal? Because make no mistake, your presence is now a disruption. Your clarity is dangerous. Your peace is provocative. Your existence, the very fact that you've passed through the fire and didn't lose your soul, is a threat to every system built on fear. And that's exactly what you came here to be. Not a savior, not a martyr, but a mirror. A living reminder of what's possible when someone refuses to give their power away. So here's what I want you to remember. You are the gift that the test was hiding. You are the storm that resets entire timelines. You are the truth in a world that profits from lies. And now that you've remembered, nothing can stop you. Not the demon, not the fear, not the past. Because the test was never about surviving. It was about becoming.